But Jay, it was maybe an early title decider or maybe a signifier in terms of who's actually got the firepower to go all the way. Sundowns overwhelmingly beat Pirates and they looked very good in that game. How would you assess that game and what did you think both sides look like?
Yeah, I did not expect for one. I really didn't. When I was asked about score predictions leading up to that match, I said I thought Sundowns would win it 1-0, though, or it's going to be 1-1, but I thought it was going to be a low scoring affair. And that's on the basis of what I saw last season between these two teams and then what I've seen this season from the two teams even before they faced up against one another. Because when you go back to last season, the games in the league as well as in the cups, right? In the cups, you had the MTN8 final, which went to penalties, and then in the Nedbank Cup final, there was that last minute winner by Urel, and that game ended 2-1. And then in the league clashes, I believe Sundowns won the one game 1-0, and then the other one was 1-1. So they've been fairly close. And then when you come into the 24-25 season, where Pirates have looked as good as they have, and it seems as if they've closed the gap. And by that, I'm referring mostly to what we saw at the end of the league campaign, where Pirates were 23 points behind Sundowns. So I thought these two teams are evenly matched. And then when you consider the fact that there's stability over at Orlando Pirates with their coaching and their coach, and whereas at Sundowns, Rolani left, and then there was Mangoba Mnite, and now there is Miguel Cardoso, and that seemed like a recipe for a close game, and maybe even as a neutral, you would have thought maybe Pirates might be able to come through. I did not expect 4-1, but based on what happened on the day, I can see why it ended up 4-1. First of all, if I talk about Pirates, yeah, Koki and Sbisi, they cannot be the center back pairing. It doesn't work with the two of them. One of them with either Sisani or Nda, preferably at the very top in terms of the center back pairing, it would be Sisani with Nda, because what happened on Saturday was not a good showing from both of them, particularly when they were asked to go mark in the wide areas, which I put on the coach because coming from the Soweto derby and seeing how Coach Nabi was utilizing Umodi, in that he was continuously getting into that space behind Dino. I would have thought that maybe Orlando Pirates would have not asked Dino to vacate that space, especially, and then playing a high line, because then that's another thing which I feel if you just watched the match between Mamelodi Sundowns and Kaizer Chiefs, that's the one in the cup where Sundowns won 4-0. You don't want to do that. And with Ukadoso, he implemented the right players, because I thought playing Reyners and Shalulile at the same time, who are two players who I've not historically thought can play together since Reyners arrived at Sundowns. But the fact that they were not really there to occupy a space in the box, but to run the channels. And you saw Reyners with the second goal, Yaga Ribeiro, and him running down that left-hand side and going past Usbis, I believe, at that point. And then there was another occasion, with the first goal from Ribeiro, where it's Koki who can't bring him down. And I also was looking at that and looking at the other goals and thinking to myself, why do Orlando Pirates not believe in tactical fouling? Like, pull these people down.
We would
that's
have.
what Ignacio Miguel did for Kaizer Chiefs. And it's like, don't watch your guy run from his own half and to go then to score a goal. What are you doing? Like, pull this man down.
But now we would have, except for, I don't know if you saw this, Rele was the one who was in pursuit, but he slips. And then for that point, he can't catch up anymore. Hence, it's coloring a pitch. But, I mean, we all know that even if the pitch was immaculate, chances are with what the team looked like, Pirates, they still wouldn't have won that game. So I think in that particular moment, I think the pitch had a part to play. But generally, I do agree with you, because if you foul him in the center circle, it's most likely to be a yellow card. You're not going to get a red. But if you are chasing like Chloe did, take the red, because from what they looked like in the beginning of the game, at least, they looked like they wanted to play deep and have a low block. So if you've got a red card, you'll play that like that anyway. So prevent the goal.
Yeah, prevent the goal, but I don't know if Pirates could have done much to prevent the goals that were scored. And where I think Mamelodi Sundowns won this game, and what I was most impressed with on the coaching side by Miguel Cardoso, adaptability to begin with, because up to this point, right? Well, in the last decade, we've thought of Mamelodi Sundowns as a possession-based side. In this game, Sundowns only had 39% of the ball, and they completed less than 300 passes. And usually, you'll find them around the 600 pass mark. And they were content to play on the break, which, as I'm saying, is not something we've seen from a Sundowns team, regardless of who's been coaching, whether it's Pito or it's Rolani. And now with Cardoso, what I think he's done to make himself stand out from his predecessors is the fact that he's not married to an ideology. But whatever it is that is required to win the match, he'll go and do that. Because 3 of those goals came in transition. They came on the counter attack, and then 1 of them came from a set piece. This is not something that you associate with Mamelodi Sundowns. You know, usually they have the ball, and I think sometimes this bogs you down. It's what you see with Manchester City at times as well, where you have so much of the ball and teams are sitting in the low block. And we saw Polokwane City being successful against Sundowns by letting Sundowns have all the ball. We saw Maniema in the Champions League as well have 6 defenders in front of their box, and Sundowns had 70% of the ball but could not score goals. And the adaptability to approach the game from another side was very impressive. Also, what was very impressive for me is the press from Sundowns. And I've mentioned this before. In his opening press conference, Miguel Cardoso, when was answering questions about his style of play, one of the things that he mentioned is that he wants to press high and he wants to counter press in those offensive positions. And then he came in following another game, I believe it was against Magesi. If not Magesi, was one of the teams that are languishing towards the bottom of the log in the PSL. And he said that he can't counter press because when these teams get the ball, they hoof it forward. So there's no opportunity because you want to counter press a team who, when they win the ball, they want to play out, you know. So against then a Pirates who do want to build from the back, or when they receive it, they're not just launching the ball long, even though we saw that quite a lot from Pirates in this game. But they do want to pass it around one another. They don't want to bypass the midfield all the time. And each time that happened, Mamelodi Sundowns were hounding those Pirates players in the middle, especially Umakaula. Even saw Ribeiro, who's not a man who's renowned for his defensive side of the game. He was constantly on Umakaula, even fouling him a few times. So when I say adaptability, I'm talking about the fact that in one match, you can recognize that, well, the counter press is not going to work. We need to do something else. In another one, you realize, okay, this team is going to want to hold on to the ball. We can counter press. And you also can go away from what has been your bread and butter, which is the possession-based style, and play on the counter. And then the other thing, which I thought was a big contributor to the victory for Mamelodi Sundowns, is individual superiority. Lucas Ribeiro, the 2 goals, it's the goal, of course, that he runs from his own half and he scores. But even the second goal, like to finish from outside of the box with that pinpoint accuracy, and then later to see Teboho Mokoena be in that position, and now where the Pirates defense are a little weaker later in the game, and he has that shot and that finish from outside of the box. I thought that the Sundowns big players, they showed up, whereas on the Pirates side, you were looking for them.
I think when you speak of adaptability, Jay, I think that's where we lacked. And by that I mean, Talentambata out with injury, Sisane out with injury, and the guys who we bring in could not adapt to what Sundowns were bringing. And I've always thought to myself that the one thing that Paris needed to add to their game, other than just being direct and playing this fluid and fast football, is being able to recycle the ball quite well, which I think would have been a very good thing to have in this game. But I think even in this game, we would have struggled because of the Sundowns press, as you said. I think as much as, yes, Ribeiro stood out as the star man on the day, generally the team was good, that is Sundowns, in terms of hounding down, in terms of just their work rate, right? And you expected the opposite, and you expected Paris to be the ones who would work more, because Sundowns at home should have more possession, should want to play their style of football. And how we got close to Sundowns, or at least how we beat them in most of these games, that we stifled a lot of their play. There was a lot of disruption, a lot of pressing, a lot of high intensity stuff in terms of, if we don't have the ball, we'll outwork Sundowns. And it was the opposite in this game, because if you looked at the first 20 minutes when Pirates had the ball, there's a lot of passes backwards. And like, so guys, where's the confidence? You know, so I was a bit confused in terms of how we wanted to set out in the first half, because there was half low block, half press in front. Then there was like gaps in the midfield for like 20 minutes. And you're like, so what are we planning on doing here? Also, Jay, I do agree with you in terms of there are questions over Rivera's selections. Dlamini, not the guy for this duel, not the guy for this battle. Yes, Talented Butter's gone, but I don't think the guy who's more comfortable at number 10 is going to do the dirty work in midfield, which you have to do against Mamelodi Sundowns if you want to stop them playing. So maybe Oras Bucha should have played because he's an option on the bench. Maybe Miguel Tim should have come on. Maybe Ndlondo because he was also on the bench. Those players for me are a better fit for what you're trying to do against Sundowns versus Ukabelo Dlamini. So that was a bit disappointing in terms of the guys that we chose. Personnel, I do agree with you, Jay. Emova. Koki, this is only your second start in the league against Sundowns. And look, we've been exposed for pace that the two centre backs don't have it. On either flank, your Marcos, your Dino van Rooyen, they can chase back, but the guys in the centre, they don't have it. And as you're saying, against Pula Modi, you saw there's going to be trouble. But because we have Talented Mbata and Makaula, and obviously against an inferior midfield, it didn't happen too often, so we were able to deal with that. So speaking about that, Jay, Sundowns had the right personnel. Someone like Jaden Adams shone, I think, in that game where you're like, okay, it's high quality, big names, and he stood out and he was counted. Someone like Ribeiro, obviously. And obviously, these comparisons will come out, right, in terms of Relem Fukeng, Ribeiro.
No.
On the day.
No. We're not just moving past that. These comparisons will come up because
I am addressing that. I'm speaking about it.
Is this you coming around? Because I heard you earlier saying that you agree with me on another point that I've made. And so now I need to know, do you now agree with me? Do you now admit that the best player in the PSL is Lucas Ribeiro Costa?
Not on one game showing.
Let
me say.
Chuck, you are so stubborn. What do you need to see? What do you need to see? What more do you need to see? Trickers asked the question. He was quoting a movie line in terms of what did he say? Who's next?
Is there anyone else?
Is there anyone, Chuck? Is there anyone? Period to compare with Ribeiro? Not even just going directly at Urel. Anybody, Chuck. Chuck, I know you know football. Like, if you did not know football, I would not be sitting here doing this show with you. And I know you know football, but I also know that you're a hater. And sometimes you're so committed to drinking that haterade that, like, knowing what the truth is, you don't want to come around to what it actually is and what your eyes tell you. I know, based on the performance, your eyes told you. And I need you to admit it now.
Can I have my piece? Because I was about to go on.
Please go ahead.
A breakdown before you went on your soliloquy about Ribeiro. As I was saying, even though there will be those comparisons, on the day, the guy was head and shoulders above everyone. That goal was testament to his qualities, right? Not only is it the finishing, but it's the physical strength to hold off all the chases en route to goal. Number 2, the goal to find his brace. Pinpoint finishing. That was good. It was influential in the game. He was great. Mara. The pitch was horrible. Here
we go.
Look, the pitch was horrible. But even if it was good, like I said prior, I think Sundowns would have won. I think Ribeiro is different gravy. I think he's good. I want to say this, Uguti. Yeah, right now I can give him the plaudit, but I'm not going to say Uguti in the league because what I've seen, right, is rather, let me put it this way. This performance in the league is the best performance by any individual this season so far in one game. That I can give him without a shadow of a doubt, right? But I've seen dips in form. If you go like 4 or 5 games back where you're like, where is Ribeiro for Sundowns when they need him, right? And other people have stood up. Those questions are being asked of Mfukeng in this game, in the game against Chiefs. And my thing is that there will be dips, ebbs and flows, dips and peaks in their form. Let's wait a couple of games, Jay. Let's crown him player of the season at the end of the season. He can be front runner now. It's fine. I can give him that.
I'm not talking about the end of the season and giving out awards. This is a debate we had. And we fell on two sides of this fence, and it's revisiting that right here, right now. Is there a better player in the PSL than Lucas Ribeiro Costa? You say yes or you say no?
No.
All right, thank you. That's all I wanted to hear, Chuck. That's all I wanted to hear.
All right, going on to Pirates, Jay. I think, as you said, injuries, right? And I think if we learn from this game, what's actually come out now is the fact that, as we've been worried and concerned about it the whole entire season, depth. When Talented Butcher is not there, when Sun is not there, when Da is not there, what do you guys do? And I think those questions need to be answered quickly because what I'm seeing in Nkota, what I'm seeing in Relem Fukeng is that how many games have they played now? Over 20. They probably have the exploits of Africa and all these cup competitions is probably wearing on their legs now because, as we said, Pirates play a very intense game of football where they play fast, where they press hard, and they are running the entire game. And also, they've played the most games of anyone in the season. And they've never been in a season like this before. And now that they're in it, they're feeling the rigors of it. So I think players like Mfukeng, give him a rest. Put him on the bench. Let him come on late. or let him skip an entire game completely. Someone like Tito, I think at some point, remember when he came back, it was like, it's not quite Tito. And then he sparked on again because I think after a while you get fatigued. Sundowns are used to these things. Sundowns are used to this, and they've got a bigger squad and they rotated quite well. So I think we're learning in terms of how to utilize our squad. And it was not the best game to try to figure out what is Koki fit enough. Not the game. Could Dlamini plug in the whole forward Umbata? Not that game. But Jay, on the goals that Sundown scores, kudos to them, right? But for everything that they did good, I think Pirates did bad as well. Because as much as Allende put in a very good cross in terms of the right areas, okay, kind of when he scores that goal, you're like, where's defense?
Closing him down.
Yeah, like where's the challenge at least? Let him win a duel and score that goal, right? Or Ribeiro, as you said, someone should have tugged his shirt, someone should have done something. But also, when the ball from Tito goes to Udlamini, you could be more responsible with that pass where you're trying to take it. Because if you look at where it's intercepted and you look at the trajectory of that ball, it's not necessarily going to a Pirates player. So be more responsible with that ball, right? We all know we had sighters in the first half where you're like, guys, don't give him the space. You know what the guy's capable of. Many of you play with him in the senior team. You've seen him score crackers the entire campaign for Bafana. Don't do that. So goal number 4, we knew it was coming and we gave him space. So look, I think to round it off, Jay, it is what you pointed out in terms of Sundown's quality. That's what was on display, right? Not only from the players, I think the coach as well, as you're saying, his personnel. I think, as you kept on saying, Sundowns don't quite have the speed to deal with Pirates. Not this version of Sundowns. Not with the addition of Reyners. Not with the inclusion of Morena in the side. I think they've got plenty of speed. I think the adaptability of Allende, Adams, Mukwena, I think they control the midfield quite well because it was a lone battle for Makaula in this game. He needed his partner in talent and butter to try stifle them. And with him and just him in the midfield, it was a bit too much for him. And I think, shout out to Sundowns, I did not expect 4 myself. But at the end of the day, it's one of those games where after 4 goals, you're like, I have to respect it.